So, much better result this week for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who managed to come out of Las Vegas with a very comfortable victory. Final score, of course, being 32-13. Again, really a very solid all round performance. I would argue, entire team did their jobs, did what they were supposed to, which ultimately is what mattered and is what this team wants to needs to keep doing. I certainly wouldn't say this was a great game for the Steelers. I think this is again, any game you can win is a good one. However, I think that you need to be a little bit more multifaceted. I think this game should have been closer, and I think when we take a look at some of the stats throughout this one, I think that will reflect the fact that this game probably should have been at least a little bit closer than it turned up being, and it's largely due to a lot of very big clutch plays from the Steelers' defense and special teams. And that was ultimately what made the difference, is the Steelers team made plays that the Raiders didn't, whether that's due to injuries and missing players for the Raiders, specifically at wide receiver, where they were a little bit light this week. Obviously, no Devontae Adams, no Jacoby Myers. You had Aiden O'Connell in there instead of Gardner Minshew, so that quarterback room isn't necessarily strong. But there's still a lot of good players on that team. And again, is this the type of team where you look at this win as like, yeah, this team is a Super Bowl contender? No, this is a game that the Steelers should win. This is not indicative that the Steelers are some great team that they're gonna continue to go on. They're not gonna lose another game. Any of that. Like, I don't get me wrong. I certainly hope that happens, but this game is certainly not indicative of that. What this game is indicative, though, is that this is a good bounce back where, especially after that Cowboys game on Monday night, where just Steelers could not make anything work, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, where we actually got some moments today where the Steelers were able to put some solid offensive drives together, not without shooting ourselves in the foot every once and again, but certainly a couple of instances here and there. But ultimately, win's a win, and we'll certainly take that. So we'll go ahead and swap over to some of the stats side of things. Of course, we'll take a look at that scoring summary first. Again, that second and third quarter, really what made the difference, outscoring the Raiders by a total of, 19 points in that middle stanza of the football game. Actually put up, what is that? 26 points before the Raiders managed to find a response late in that fourth quarter. So a great day as a whole, and of course looking down at that team stats, you can see the big talking point of today, which will be those turnovers. 3 turnovers for the Steelers, 2 fumbles, both forced by TJ Watt, were very big. Gives the Steelers some great field position. Also not mentioned there is the turnover on downs late in the game, as well as a blocked punt. So those were 2 big ones there. Steelers didn't control the ball great in the second half, but did that very well in the first. Only about 300 total yards of offense, but any day you can put up 32 points on about 300 total yards is a very good day. And, of course, not going to complain too much about a win. So, very happy with that. Again, looking at the box score then, Justin Fields had a pretty quiet day through the air. Only a 14 for 24 for 145 yards. Was sacked 3 times. Would argue that a couple of those were just kind of scrambling, trying to make some things happen. One was on a flea flicker that just went the wrong way. Where Fields was really a star, though, was in that ground game. 11 carries, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day from him. So some great plays there from him with his legs. Najee Harris had a great day on the ground, 14 for 106 and 1 touchdown. A long 36-yard rumble. And Najee Harris looked really good today. Obviously, any day you can have a running back go over 100 yards is a very good one. And again, against the Raiders D, this Raiders D is no pushover. They got some very solid players on there where they can make you pay. And so seeing Naj go over 100 yards, is very good. Jalen Warren, meanwhile, he struggled a little bit. Didn't get a ton of open lanes. Only 6 carries for 7 yards in his return, but still was solid. That the receiving totals, again, to follow what I was really saying with Justin Fields through the air, where it really was not super impressive. Didn't stretch the ball down the field very well, if at all. There were a couple of good plays late. Pickens and Fields did struggle to connect. 8 targets for Pickens, but only 3 catches for 53 yards, including the longest being for 31 late on in that game. That drive ended up resulting in the final Steelers field goal. But again, the star of this game was that Steelers defense. Held that Raiders rushing attack, which again, blunted a little bit due to the injury of Zamir White. As I just showed you right there on the depth chart, you'll see his name highlighted in red briefly there. But again, that running game for the Raiders, not really able to get going whatsoever. So they really relied on the arm of Aiden O'Connell, made him air the ball out a lot. And there were some portions of the game there where the Raiders performed pretty well at points, especially in getting some quick dump-off passes, getting some good run after catch, and I think that's showing to be a weakness of this Steelers defense early in the season, where if you can get the ball out quickly and get the ball to some of your receivers and have them be able to make plays against some of these Steelers DBs, that's where you start to make things happen. And so, O'Connell 27 of 40 for 227. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and again, that interception came a little bit later in the game, if I'm not mistaken, on a 4th down. Only 1 sack for 9 yards for the Steelers defense, but where they really came into play here was the turnover department, which we'll talk about in a sec. Brock Bowers was really hard to control. They would just try to find any way possible to get him the football, whether that was quick tight end screens, whether that was having him line up as a right receiver and have him be in a screen there. But Brock Bowers is a very good football player, and will be very interesting to watch as he continues to develop, as he still leads tight ends with both receptions and yards, even through today, I believe. But he was a bit hard to control. A couple of big pass plays, but otherwise, Steelers defense able to keep that passing game in front of him, despite Aiden O'Connell having over 200 yards passing. No passes for longer than 30 yards, so certainly good to see there. Fumbles were where the difference was really made. Justin Fields did have 1 fumble, but he did not lose it. Got recovered fairly quickly. But 3 Las Vegas fumbles were the story of the day. Amir Abdullah did recover 1 of them, but did lose the other one, and that fumble was fairly deep in Raider territory. The other one was, actually, no, I believe the Amir Abdullah one was from inside the Steeler 3. And the Dylan Law one was pretty from deep inside Raider territory. But that was really the difference. Both of those were TJ Watt punch-outs. Very textbook from him. He had a great day despite not showing up too much in terms of sacks. 2 forced fumbles that were recovered were the difference makers. Those gave us that momentum, and especially considering that we are a bit light at edge as it currently stands, that was big from him. And of course, Deshaun Elliott, Keanu Benton, both with recoveries, some great heads-up plays from them. Patrick Queen led in sacks, was calling his name out a lot during the play-by-play. 13 total sacks from him, 6 of them solo. Deshaun Elliott, Peyton Wilson flying around. T.J. Watt had a couple, again, aside from the forced fumbles, had 2 nice tackles for loss. And otherwise, the Steelers defense, again, really that star. Additionally, it was Jeremiah Moon on special teams who came up big. Jeremiah Moon, of course, starting in the place of both Nick Herbig and Alex Highsmith on the edge opposite T.J. Watt. Didn't do too much as an edge rusher, but certainly had a very solid game in general. Again, showed up with only 2 tackles. A couple of pressures in there, but the big one was a big punt block deep inside Raiders territory. Started 1 of 2 Steeler drives from inside the Vegas 10, which, again, very crucial to that final score. Dante Jackson picking up that other pick that contributed to that other drive from inside the Raider 10-yard line. Again, just an overthrow on, looking for a third or fourth and long, just not able to get something together. You had Minka Fitzpatrick and Dante Jackson kind of blanketing his intended receiver and just fell incomplete. So again, great day from the Steelers defense, special teams. Chris Boswell, again, showing up again, being very efficient. 4 of 4 on field goal attempts, 2 of 2 on extra points. He's just automatic. Great to have him. But Ben, was a good all-around day. Again, you'd want the offense to do a little bit better with some of the chances that they were given. But again, stats pretty similar across the board. Again, third down efficiency wasn't great, 4 of 13. Fourth down efficiency went for the one we went for was the one we got, so that's great. 11 drives, averaged 4.7 yards a play. So again, efficient but not excellent, I think, is the story of today's game. We did what we had to win, but we could be better. The main point where I think we absolutely have to do better is the penalties. I know, again, it didn't punish us today because we had as many turnovers as we did. But when you rack up 7 penalties for 50 yards, especially in a lot of the instances where we did it was bursting down with holding after we picked up a first down, or it was on a 2nd and 5 where we picked up that first down and weren't able to get through with it. So that's something that we absolutely have to clean up, as well as possessing the ball a little bit better in the latter phases of play. When you get a lot of short field situations, of course, your yardage and your possession probably won't look as good, but I think that's definitely something to work on. Of course, with that loss, the Raiders fall to the bottom of the AFC West. Steelers move up to second in the AFC North, so they'll continue to retain that. Of course, Baltimore still holds the lead there on tiebreaker. But again, your final in Vegas. Actually, before we do finish off, a big shout out to all the Steelers fans who either made the trip out or who were located in Las Vegas. That was, as always, is an awesome sight to see when you see a sea of yellow towels in opposing stadiums. They were loud and they were out in force. So that was great to see. We saw Mike Tomlin making sure to salute them right at the end before the Steelers went for their final kneel down. But at the end of the day, Steelers get the job done, get a good rebound win after back-to-back losses to Indy and Dallas, and looking to hopefully continue this momentum as we face both Jersey teams over the next couple of weeks, in the Giants next week, followed by the Jets right before our bye. So Giants, again, another should-win game. Jets, I think, will be a little bit tougher with that defense. Obviously, they're going through a bit of a coaching transition as of right now. But the important part is the Steelers improved to 4-2 and a much better showing from last week against Dallas. So looking forward to seeing you some other time. Be sure to like and subscribe down below if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you next time.